It's time for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It's time for the game on ESPN 1400. For the next 2 hours, we'll get an in-depth look at local sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region, and hear from the coaches and players involved in the game. We'll also analyze the college and pro sports scene across the region and dive into the biggest national stories. Now, let's get to the game and join your host, Scott Nason.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the game. Heard online at thegamesportshow.com and our debut episode right here on ESPN 1400. As the man said, my name is Scott Nason, host of the game, our broadcast engineer tonight, Alyssa Bradley. Appreciate all the work she is doing to get us on the air for the first time. And what is the game, you ask? Well, as the man said, it is the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. We talk everything going on here in the Twin Sault's, Eastern Upper Peninsula, and Algoma region, and we expand to the Detroit, Toronto, Midwest area, and even talk about all the sports we are talking about nationally, which we'll get to in hour two. But hour one is focused mostly on local and regional sports, and it's my pleasure to introduce our first guest tonight. You know him well here on ESPN 1400. His name is Matt Pocket, sports director here at Sovereign Communications, and good friend of mine. Matt, thanks for coming on the debut edition of the game here on ESPN 1400.
I would drum roll right now, but I think I'd blow the mics out.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
And episode one would be over quickly.
Yes, we don't want that to happen. And Matt, it's great to be here at ESPN 1400. We've been looking forward to this here over the last few weeks. And I just wanted to give our listeners kind of our background and our history as far as how we became acquaintances. You were looking for a radio job a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, and an acquaintance of ours, a good friend of mine, and your former principal, Steve Bigelow, who is now the superintendent down at the Bay City area schools, hooked us up, and well, it's been a friendship ever since.
Yeah, I was with Sovereign Stations out in Marquette actually a couple of years ago, and they decided they wanted to haul me over here to the Soo, and so I reached out to Steve. I actually, believe it or not, I just missed him by like a couple of months, I think. He was my sister's principal at Paul K. Cousino High School in Warren, the Patriots,
yes.
So anyway, he's like, hey, get in touch with Scott. He's a good dude. I finally meet up with you, and you're like, yeah, no, he's underselling this. Like, we grew up together.
Sure.
Like hanging out in the backyard together.
Yeah, with burn barrels and everything. Yeah, it was outstanding. It was a good time.
I'm like, wow, I had no idea about any of this. So, but yeah, Steve was from the Soo, and we got to know each other a little bit over the years there, and now here we are.
And here we are, both sporting soccer jerseys, but we're not going to talk soccer here.
Really?
Here in this first segment. Not yet. First show, we're talking, get back here. We're talking local sports, and this is a perfect tie-in for our show, Matt, as we talked with Mark San Angelo a few weeks ago, talking about the game coming to ESPN, and just a natural fit for us, and hopefully will help, us here, because I'm part of this now. So we're only 2 weeks away from high school practice sessions.
Can you believe it?
I can.
I mean,
it's coming.
In some ways, it feels like it's been forever in some regards, and then in others, you're like, wow, it's here already.
Yeah.
I mean, it does come up on you quick. Once you finally get into those summer months, you start kind of counting down the days, and they start getting really short, Yeah, but then you realize too, it's been 6 months?
Yeah, and pretty much after the 4th of July, everything starts to really move fast. And speaking of high school football, of course, we'll be covering Soo High Blue Devil football on our sister station 1230 WSO with Dave the Professor Watson. Looking forward to that. And you, hot off the presses, of course,
this
UP Game of the Week.
Yeah,
schedule is out.
We are going to open things up with a doozy. All right, brace yourselves. Friday, August 30th, Crystal Falls Forest Park comes to Pickford. That is our week 1 game.
That's a biggie.
I am pumped for that one.
And that's at the Purple Palace in Pickford.
It is, yeah.
As Dave once stated a few years ago. Yeah. And I stole, I might add.
Yeah, I think we've all stolen it at some point. But yeah, that's a great game between two of the premier teams in the Upper Peninsula. Pickford, not quite able to get that state title in the last couple of years. But you look at the consistency, there hasn't been a better program in 8-man football in the last several years.
No.
I mean, back-to-back semifinalists and then going to a championship game. Everybody else who's won that title has not gotten back to that level afterward. Forest Park, one of those teams. I mean, I remember being in high school myself back in 2004 to 2008, and Forest Park made 5 straight state championship
Oh, they're a dynasty
in Division 8. Yeah. Absolutely. And only won one of them. I actually did that game too, back in 2007.
You're that old?
Yeah, a little trip down memory lane there, but one of the premier programs in the history of UP football against Pickford, the team who is ruling the roost right now.
And you look at what Pickford brings back, pretty much everybody. And they had a couple players that were injured last football season that will be back. And, you know, this is obviously the team to beat in the UP. I don't think anybody's going to argue that.
They are a battleship, basically. They're just loaded up with all kinds of firepower, and just don't come near them. Don't come anywhere near that team. So it's a great test week 1 to see Forest Park coming in, because that's historically a very good program, and year to year a good program too, that's kind of had its record suppressed a little bit over time. Probably should be a little better than it is, because they play out west where there's all kinds of other great teams all the time and they beat up on each other. And you see some of these teams that kind of limp into the playoffs with 6 wins that in any other league would be 7 or 8 or even 9-win teams in the regular season.
Would you say the switch with the Eastern Upper Peninsula schools out of the Bridge Alliance Conference going to the All-UP Conference has helped a team like Pickford playing those tougher teams for the regular season and being able to get to the final rather than, you know, playing teams and beating them 60-70-0, which they did in some cases last year. But I think
frequently,
overall the competition in the Upper Peninsula for 8-player football is as good as it gets.
I think it's better for the fans. I don't know if you could give a cookie cutter answer for, is it better for the teams? I think that's up to each individual team, right? Some teams thrive on, hey, we've been 11 weeks now where we have stopped everybody, and now we're in the semifinals, and it's a tough game, but they're feeling good about that, right? Then there's other teams that, sure, maybe they go 6-3, but because they went through that meat grinder, like some of those teams out west, because they all beat up on each other and suppressed their records, there's nothing that they haven't seen at this point. So it depends on the team. I hate to give a flaky answer here. I think it's
early.
I think
it's
great. Yeah, I think it's great for the fans more than anything. I think it gives us, as people who watch this, great football games that, frankly, we might not have been getting before, right? Because you had such a big Bridge 8-man football league that ate up a ton of non-conference states. You didn't have a lot of opportunity to schedule teams. Now we're getting 2 great matchups a year between East and West teams that we've wanted to see those matchups forever anyway.
And you can hear the UP Game of the Week on Oldies 93. Yep. Matt, what are some of the other games on the schedule? Why don't you just go through and roll through the rest of the schedule for the season?
There's a few that obviously you have to get to every year. Cedarville-Pickford is going to be the big one. That's week number 6 on October the 4th. Rudyard-Cedarville. It's a pretty balanced schedule. We will have some Engadine games in there. Pickford at Engadine week 2 will be a really good one. A team that I'm interested in seeing, again, a little bit more of, Rapid River is at Rudyard week 3 on September the 13th. That's been a good Rapid River team.
It has.
Offensive powerhouse the last couple of years. Now they come to Rudyard on September 13th. I'm really excited for that game. And then Engadine with a couple of big games at the end of the season too, on the road at Rudyard and at Cedarville to close out the season. We'll have both of those games. Engadine has been probably over the last couple of years the best team in the league, not Pickford. And those games are going to go a long way to determining, in some cases, who might be going to the playoffs. Not to mention positioning inside the league itself. You still feel that Pickford is going to be the favorite, but if Engadine can knock them off in week number 2, right, which is possible, right, that's a really strong Engadine program, you're looking at this crazy race going into the final 2 weeks of the season potentially. I think one or more of those teams are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. Winners in those games, I think, will be going to the playoffs. Losers, maybe not. Maybe not.
It's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be a great end of the season finish, I think.
Again, the Practices for high school football start on August 12th. Volleyball, cross country, and boys soccer will start on August 14th. And then the games will begin in late October. There'll be some volleyball invitationals before that. And away we go, Matt. We'll be into the 2019-2020 high school sports season.
And it gets going so quickly up here, doesn't it? I mean, within a month and a half, you're looking at the Lakers getting going in multiple sports. You're looking at the Greyhounds getting going soon here, too. I think they're starting up about within a month after the high school season
First
starts.
exhibition game for the Hounds, August 30th.
The Sioux Eagles get going here at the beginning of September.
This weekend, training camp.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Big Bear.
Once it starts, it's kind of crazy because you just go, oh my God, like there's so much happening all at the same time, but it's a really fun time of the year watching all these teams get going. And getting our first look at everybody and figuring out who the real serious contenders are, because in this area, we've always got a couple in everything.
Yeah, again, going back to the Sioux Eagles, their main camp is this weekend at Big Bear Arena, starting on Friday night, August 2nd through Sunday, August 4th. And we'll have one of the members of their coaching staff here next Monday on the edition of the game and hopefully have a roster, and we'll be covering Sioux Eagles, yours truly, taking over the broadcast this year. And I would be remiss not to mention our good friend John Bell, who, we're thinking about here on the game. John was very influential in helping me actually get over here, as was you. And we wanted to give a shout out to Johnny tonight, just to say that we're thinking of him. And we definitely miss him here, and we hope to be hearing from him very soon.
Yeah, he's had some health issues. He's still been in touch here and there, but he's been working through them. And man, John Bell, what a tough guy, ain't he? I mean, he's still chugging along. So we're thinking about you, John. Hope you're listening tonight, too. Bro.
Yeah, we really do, John. And again, thanks for everything. Mentioned the Sioux Greyhounds. Matt, their training camp will be held later next month, around mid-August. Don't have the dates for that, but their first exhibition game will be at Sudbury on August 31st. They'll have two more preseason games, September 12th against Sarnia, that game being played in Chatham. And then the only home exhibition game will be on September 15th at the Memorial Gardens against Sudbury. The Hounds will start regular season play on Friday, September 20th at home against the Flint Firebirds. And you can hear all Hounds games, home and away, on our sister station, Rock 101 with Jerry Liscombe Jr. Matt, you mentioned Lake Superior State Athletics. A couple news and notes from LSSU. They named a new assistant cross-country coach this week, as Roger Ahn was named assistant coach for the cross-country team. He comes to Lake Superior State from Southern Nazarene University in Bethany, Oklahoma, where he was pursuing a Master's of Sports Management and had served as an assistant in the Athletic Communications Office prior to his time at Southern Nazarene University. He attended the College of Worcester in Worcester, Ohio, where he graduated with a Bachelor's of Art degree. While attending the College of Worcester, Ahn was a member of the Fighting Scots, great name, by the way, track and field and football teams. And the Lakers' first cross-country meet will be September 7th at Northwood. The volleyball team will start September 3rd with an exhibition match against Alma. Women's tennis will begin on September 14th at home against Michigan Tech. And then you also have the golf teams starting. And, you look at last year, Matt, with Lake Superior State University Athletics, a lot of movement in the positive direction, I think, really across the board. Cross country, they had a runner that performed very well, David Mitter, in Division II. The volleyball team improved with wins. Men's tennis team making the GLIAC tournament for the first time in quite some time. And the hockey team, of course, making strides into the playoffs and winning a playoff series. So I think if you look at the LSSU athletic picture right now from a year ago, things are moving the right direction.
Yeah, I think so. And they've built with a lot of youth. You look at the assistant coaches coming in. They also announced today that Cameron Clayton has been hired as the women's basketball assistant coach under Brandon Locken. He's a guy who's been in the coaching ranks as an assistant for a couple of years now. But a young guy, and Brandon's a young guy. Dave Schmidlin, a veteran guy coaching the volleyball program, but you've got Rob Gollinger at cross country and track and field. There's been a lot of youth injected into this program, and I think that's a good thing because everybody kind of gets to learn together, but they've also got some guys who've been around for a little while. Damon Witten's been here for a few years now as the head coach of the hockey team. He's an experienced guy, but still a young guy in some ways too. You've also got Steve Hettinga, who's the grandfather.
Yeah, really. Just ask him that. He'll tell you.
Here. Yeah, but Steve's a guy who can bring a lot of experience within the department to help people grow within being a first-time head coach or even an assistant coach, right? He's a great resource of somebody that these coaches can come and talk to just about different things going on within the department. Not that he's necessarily a track and field coach, right? But, he does have the ability to guide people through the other aspects of the job. It's not just simply coaching the team. You have a lot of other responsibilities through this thing too. And that's where Steve can be a tremendous asset. I think you look at what's going on with that program. They've made that commitment to youth. They've made that commitment to finding younger coaches and developing them, committing to them over a period of time. And I think it's bringing positive returns.
Matt, before we go to our first break here on the game, just wanted to give listeners a snapshot of the broadcast coverage we have ahead. We already mentioned the UP Game of the Week for high school football starting there in Pickford late August, which you can hear on Oldies 93. Yours truly will be doing the majority of those broadcasts, if not all of them. And then Sioux High Blue Devil football, you can hear on 1230 WSOO with Dave Watson starting also in late August. And then we'll move on to the Sioux Eagles, which will be starting their games in mid-September. Home games we'll be doing on this station, ESPN 1400. Trying to get them all here. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a big puzzle. I'm not used to this. Rock 101 will be carrying Sioux Greyhounds hockey with Jerry Liscombe Jr. starting in September. You'll also have Detroit Pistons basketball back here in November on ESPN 1400. Detroit Red Wings hockey on 1230 WSOO. Still have the Detroit Tigers going on right now. Detroit Lions will start their season. We'll be talking about them later with Butch Davis from Butch On Sports on Oldies 93. Laker men's and women's basketball will be on ESPN 1400 starting in November. And Laker hockey on Yes FM with Bill Crawford. Did I get it all? There were no notes. That was all right here.
I think so.
I think I got it all.
Oh my. Yeah. It's a lot.
No. Matt Pocket.
But it's great, and again, once this all gets going here over the next couple of weeks, there's a week or two where it's like, okay, buckle up, here we go. I mean, everything is starting at once, but there's nothing quite like it.
No.
There's nothing quite like it.
Fun times. Matt Pocket joining us here on the game. Matt, appreciate you coming on, my friend. Thanks for setting up our broadcast. We're going to take our first break on this debut edition on ESPN 1400. We come back, we're going to get the Sioux, Ontario local sports perspective with Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show in Sioux, Ontario. That's coming up next on the game on ESPN 1400.
No time is better than now to get the lowest prices on a new Chevrolet, and no place wants to earn your business more than Rodenroth Motors. Terry, one of our product specialists, is here to tell you all about some great offers.
Thanks, Craig. GM employees can lease a new Chevy Equinox LT front-wheel drive for as low as $229 per month.
That sounds great, Terry.
It gets better. The Chevy Trax is only $199 a month.
What if they'd rather buy than lease?
Chevrolet has that covered as well, like 0% 60 months on the Chevy Equinox or 0% for 72 months on the Chevy Trax. Or the best offer ever, 0% for 84 months on the 1500 LD Chevy Silverado Double Cab.
Wow, Terry, 0% for 84 months on the #1 selling truck in northern Michigan?
That's right, Craig. And we also have the largest selection of GM certified used vehicles ever, all backed with an additional 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty.
Chevy Equinox for $229 a month, Chevy Trax for $199 a month, and 0% for 84 months on Chevy Silverados. Come see why all roads lead to Rodenroth Motors for Chevy, Buick, and GMC, the #1 volume dealer in the eastern UP. Chevy, find new roads.
When it comes to your family's medical equipment needs, you want the best care possible. Arfstrom Pharmacy Equipment and Supplies is here to help. The caring and knowledgeable staff will take the time to get to know their customers, understand their needs, and help them on a path to better health.
Hi, this is Andrew Miller, manager of Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies. We truly want to be a trusted healthcare resource that cares for you and your family. We are always looking to carry new and improved products to enhance your daily living. We are now stocking the Hurricane Freedom Edition, the all-terrain cane, the cane that stands alone. Also, we proudly stock BioFreeze Professional Strength Topical Pain Reliever and gel, roll-on, and spray options. The Professional Strength formula contains more of the active ingredient menthol, providing an improved and longer-lasting therapeutic effect compared to the original formula found at other retailers. Stop in and see why so many people choose Arfstrom to be their medical equipment and supplies provider.
Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies is part of Arfstrom Pharmacy, a locally owned Health Mart pharmacy, ACHC accredited, located at 409 Ashland Street, downtown Sioux, Michigan. Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
Overacting?
Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing.
Underacting.
Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. It doesn't take a theater director to tell the difference between overacting and underacting, but it's not as easy knowing whether you're overinsured or underinsured. A low rate isn't a good thing if everything you hold dear, your family, your home, your future, isn't protected properly. That's why you have Farm Bureau of Michigan agent Dean Garlinghouse to take the drama out of making sure you have the coverage you need. Insurance is Dean's life. Trust your future to Dean Garlinghouse to avoid poor coverage. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio. A fellow of infinite jest, a most excellent fancy. Oy. So you can get on with your life. Call Dean Garlinghouse at Farm Bureau Insurance today.
Let's get back to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Let's get back to the game on ESPN 1400.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400, also online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason back here in the sunny ESPN 1400 studios on this beautiful last Monday, July day. Hard to believe. Where is the time going? I want to thank Matt Pocket for joining us in the first segment. Coming up in the next segment, we'll be talking Detroit sports with Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. And joining us right now in studio, host of the Game Sports Show in Soo, Ontario. Several shows over there you can all check out at thegamesportshow.com. Good friend and good guy all around, Mr. Electric Avenue himself, Dave McCaig. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Scotty, I'm doing great. This is a fantastic change. When I got let into the door by Alyssa, I was like, I had to walk a little tunnel on the way down to the studio. It's a great feeling for sure. It's going great with the Game Sports Show. I'm excited to bring all the news to you.
Yeah, it's very exciting to be on ESPN 1400. As I mentioned, talking to Matt, this seems still a little surreal. I'm not quite used to it.
Remember when we were talking on I was talking on a cell phone at Sports Center.
I do.
And then also you and I were at McDonald's for coffee with the coach, formerly known by eating the all-day breakfast and the Shamrock Shakes.
Yes, indeed. Well, we are very happy to be here and very happy to be talking local sports and lots going on both sides of the river, Dave. Let's get right to the Soo, Ontario perspective. As a couple football teams this past weekend, well, they had their seasons end, starting with the Soo Steelers out of the Northern Football Conference. Well, they dropped, I shouldn't say a tough decision. They got blown out in their playoff game, losing 61-0 to the Steel City Patriots on Saturday night in Stony Creek, Ontario. The loss ends the season for the Steelers, posting a 4-4 record. Second season back in the NFC after a little bit of a hiatus. Tough end of the season for the Steelers. Overall, good season, not a great season.
No, definitely not great, but definitely a season to look and keep your head up on, because finishing 500, you look at the teams that they play, they have a better demographic to draw from. Okay, and in Soo, Ontario, we have a lot of football talent, and the varsity and junior varsity program with Sabrecats, I know we're going to get to momentarily, show the development in our program is in Soo, Ontario is great, especially the high school program, including the core Colts with Tom Annett. But you have a Steelers team that a lot of players find it hard to go on road trips. Okay, we don't have the exact players right now that weren't able to attend the road trip. But you know what? You have a certain predicament that these teams from Southern Ontario have a bigger names and bigger demographic to draw from, as I mentioned. So these individuals that are playing with the Steelers, they're working, they have families, etc. So it's a lot difficult for the travel. But I'm not using that for an excuse for the loss. They played a heavily talented team. Okay, a team that they're outmatched against, to be flat out and to say honestly. But this is a development point. This is where you look at your team and say, okay, this is our goal where we have to reach, and this is what you use the offseason for to try to improve on. Then the Steelers, despite finishing this season on a sour note, finishing 500 is a positive note. You got to take the positives from the negatives and improve going into next year.
Team that had a lot of positives this season, Dave, the junior varsity Sabrecats. They ended their season this past weekend falling 63-42 to the Chatham Cougars. In what was a very successful season, going 7-0-1 in the regular season and losing their final game. Chatham advances to the OFC final where they would take on the Scarborough Thunder. But you have a chance to talk a lot about them on your Sioux Ontario shows at thegamesportshow.com. And, great season, tough end, but boy, they played some very good football this year.
They did, absolutely. Did both varsity and the junior varsity programs. And Jamie Antonello, Dustin Grana, and Matt Primo will, who helped coach the varsity program, will tell you and speak highly, especially with Jim Monaco in the junior varsity program. And despite Jim Monaco and his team having a loss this past weekend and having their season end, they had a fantastic year. They're undefeated in regulation. They arguably, that rainout game, a lot of experts just saying how they would have won, so they would have had a perfect season. Nonetheless, Mike Nicoletta, you have some talent that was shown in that team that you're helping grow for the varsity program, just on behalf of the city of Sault Ste. Marie. And the junior varsity program were able to attract a lot of attention from both Sioux Michigan, Sioux Ontario, and also scouts in the region as well. And the junior varsity program, a lot of people expect them to be finalists, but that game that they played another good football team. So nonetheless, you have the season that you had, but you take those, the same thing as the Steelers. You take the positives you had this year and you help grow and develop this program. And Jim Monaco did a fantastic job of coaching. All the social media presence with the programs as well, the Sabercats, was fantastic. And the junior team, when Nicoletta got 5 touchdowns, he was scouts and experts were really observing the papers, and he got the junior varsity program really lit up and himself lit up. And the big thing is the boys are out there to help grow and help develop in the varsity and the junior varsity program. The junior team had that extra week. They played really well this season, and arguably they could be a finals team, but nonetheless they're not. There'll be some grow points there as well.
No, and that's one of the things we're trying to do here on the game, Dave, is, expand coverage of these teams like the Sabercats and Algoma University and some of the other ones that, of course, we're going to talk about the Hounds, the Thunderbirds, and, the teams that lots of folks follow. But, we like to talk about some of the other squads as well. Speaking of Algoma University, their varsity athletics program announced the hiring of Etienne Jacquet as the new head coach of the men's basketball team. He's going to take over a program that has grown a bit since entering the OUA in 2013. Coach Jacquet has more than 20 years of coaching experience at various levels, holds a master's degree in coaching and athletic administration from Concordia University, and a bachelor's degree in sports and rec management from Concordia University in Chicago. In addition, he's a level 3 certified coach through the National Coaching Certification Program. So he definitely has a good resume to be coaching the Thunderbirds.
He does. And Thomas Corey, got to get the hats off to him. He was a part of that organization for over a dozen years. And you know what? He's been really involved in the programs, with the youth programs too in Sioux, Ontario for basketball. And he's well known by a lot of friends of mine because he coached them and well respected. But you know what? He had an opportunity in Nipissing is where he took his next position. And that's the whole point too in these certain programs, universities. You want to grow. And we have respect at Algoma University. I've reached out to a lot of individuals that are part of the sporting program there at Algoma U, and they have nothing but respect for Tom Corey and everything that he's done, and they can't thank him enough. And the person that they have coming in line, Etienne, coming in there is fantastic. Yeah. That is a great resume. That is a great coach. He is going to do some different things that Thomas did. And I think that's a positive thing. Not that Thomas did anything negative. He did everything great that what he could with the Thunderbirds program at Algoma University. However, when you get another coach in, I'm a fan of seeing the change in perspective and just the overall change and what he can bring to the program. You know, they haven't had championships with the program, and having someone with this attractive of a resume can attract those players. And I'm sure with those kind of criterias that he has connections in other areas around. Maybe he can bring in some recruitment and enhance the recruitment overall.
Scott Nason and Dave McCaig on this Monday night edition of The Game, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Our broadcast engineer tonight, Alyssa Bradley, doing a great job. We appreciate all her efforts getting us on the air for the first time. This is a brand new show here, so everything's newer. We haven't had any bugs yet, knock on wood. You never should do that in radio, by the way.
Never jinx yourselves. We're confident, Scotty.
No, I appreciate it. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Confident. Well, Dave, the junior hockey season for 2019-2020 officially gets underway on Friday.
Already.
If you can believe that. The Sioux Eagles will be holding their main tryout camp at the Big Bear Arena starting Friday night, runs through most of Saturday, and then Sunday morning they have the All-Star game, and after that they'll be meeting with the players. And I reached out to General Manager Bruno Braganolo today. We're going to get a member of the coaching staff on the game next Monday night here on ESPN 1400. Hopefully we'll have a roster made up, or at least close to it. And here we go, Dave. Thunderbirds, they made some announcements today. Couple player signings, as forward Nick Smith will be back once again for the Sioux Thunderbirds. Boy, he's a tough player. And they will be signing or re-signing the goaltender Colin Ahern for the Sioux Thunderbirds. So the roster's starting to take shape for the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League season. Dave will be covering the Sioux Eagles here on ESPN 1400. Yours truly and Larry Pozzebon this year with the play-by-play for the home games at Puller Stadium. And here we go. It's time once again. It seems like it never ends.
It never ends. The city of Sault Ste. Marie, both Twin Saults with hockey, it never ends. And Coach John Parko of the Sioux Thunderbirds, who we're going to have on the ONN TV edition on Tuesday, you have these players in Sioux, Ontario, and with the Sioux Eagles that have such a great organization and positively ran, especially with Bruno with the Eagles. And with the Sioux Eagles and the Sioux Thunderbirds getting their camps underway in the season, I just can't believe it's already happening. I'm just trying to enjoy the summer. I'm just trying to enjoy a little bit of heat. And as the hockey season comes closer, that means the fall and winter, I'm going to be scraping snow off my truck pretty soon. But nonetheless, the Thunderbirds have a lot of returning hockey players this year, and they also get a lot of attention from players outside of Sault Ste. Marie because of their reputation. They're considered one of the top teams in Canada for a reason all the time, top 20, right? They're always in that area. The T-Bot, everything is known in Ontario. And with the Sioux Thunderbirds, they're going to have another strong team to ice this year. The Eagles, I'm always a fan to see the team that they can ice. I wonder if they're going to go the pesky route or if they're going to get that pure speed route, right? And I remember when I played there that it was the speed, a little bit of the conceited route with the team, to be totally honest with you, especially if I was on that squad.
Yeah, you said it, not me.
So overall, John Parko and Trevor Zachary and the crew there with the Sioux Thunderbirds are bringing back some good hockey players. They're also signed some players earlier in the summer, and at the end of the day, the rosters are really shaping out. And before we blink our eyes, Scotty, puck's going to be dropping at the John Rose Community Center or at Polar Stadium, and it's going to be nonetheless amazing.
The rivalry between the Eagles and Thunderbirds. Border battle. And we've talked about it on our show, but being that this our first show on ESPN 1400, as somebody that's been around it from a broadcasting perspective for this my 10th season, if you can believe that.
Can't believe that. You still look like you're 25.
I appreciate that, Dave, and that's why I have you on the show, among other reasons. But been doing the games on the internet for Hockey TV. This my 10th season. Larry Pozzebon will be his 12th season. And you being around the league, having played in the league, having played for the Eagles and being part of that rivalry, it's the best rivalry in the Twin Saults. I don't think there's any comparison. I mean, there's lots of good rivalries, high school sports, but Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, U.S. It reminds me of the days of the Tough Man contest. Do you remember when that was going on?
I actually do not.
Okay, a little before your time.
Yeah, okay,
I wish I could do the impersonation of the guy that used to do the commercials for that, but it was kind of U.S. versus Canada in a fun way.
Fun, friendly way.
Sometimes, if you weren't boxing out there.
Unless you were St. Mary's or the Soo Blue Devils.
That's true. Well, that's a whole other story there.
Yes.
But just talk about this rivalry. I mean, every year it just seems to always be there. Whether it be an exhibition game in early September or whether it be a playoff game in March, it's just that rivalry, that spark. The teams, they don't like each other. Coaches don't like each other. It's one of those things that just is exciting as a broadcaster, as a fan, as a player.
Oh, the stories that I can state, the stories are long. And I can say right now, being on both sides with the Eagles and the Thunderbirds, I must give respect out to Blind River as well. They're a rivalry with Sioux, Ontario.
Oh, sure.
So you got to give shout out to Blind River for that, where I also played. Seems like I played everywhere in the Algoma region, which is true. I did.
I think so. Yeah.
But you have the Eagles and the Thunderbirds, and playing on the one side with the Eagles. If you're from Sioux, Ontario, and you're playing against the Sioux Thunderbirds, you have that extra motivation. You're that little bit more excited. You want to prove them wrong for maybe them not signing you, or maybe you're just decided not to play with them, whatever the reason may be. It's just that little fierce competitiveness that's there, and you're excited to play. And the fans at Polar Stadium or even the John Rhodes are extra more. They're a bit more intense. I remember being at Polar Stadium, and they're throwing stuffed Thunderbirds on the ice. Okay, I remember being inside Polar Stadium, and there was fights between benches. Like it's old time hockey when you think of the Eagles and the Thunderbirds. Now, if you're on the Thunderbird side playing against the Eagles, you're like, look, this is Team Canada against Team USA, as you mentioned, Scotty, and you want to prove that Canada is still superior. You want to prove that USA is superior. Whatever it may be, at the end of the day, the Eagles and the Thunderbirds have the best rivalry in the NOJHL, and it's hard to compete against that. And the talent that both teams possess, it's just another story in itself.
Sioux Greyhounds will start their training camp next month. Don't know the exact dates for that, but it should be in the middle of August because their first exhibition game is on August 31st against Sudbury. They'll have a home exhibition game on September 15th against Sudbury. Then they'll start the regular season on Friday, September 20th at home against the Flint Firebirds. Dave, we talk a lot about the Hounds on the game on both your shows and this show. This has been a long run for the Hounds, a 5-year run where they have been at the top of the standings, have been in an OHL championship. And there are some that think, well, maybe that road has ended. Maybe the team is due for a rebuild or a restock or something. What say you about a month away from the first exhibition game? What do the Hounds look like, in your opinion, for the 2019-2020 season?
Well, first off, a little crowded in between the pipes, which is what I like. I like the competitiveness as a also former coach with Blind River. I liked having 3 or 4 goalies, and, having them compete. And especially when you have a veteran goalie, a younger goalie, and they also drafted Malik, the 50th overall in the import draft. And the last goalie they drafted is import draft, and I will be corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe it was Robin Leonard. So obviously that turned out well for them, right? But you have that area of the Hounds right now that people are saying, oh, this team is not going to be a playoff team, or this team is going to be a lower seeded team. For anyone that said they're going to be a lower seeded team, I might listen, but when they say they're not a playoff team, I just turn off my ears, to be totally honest, because they have Pitlick. Okay, you have McCaig, who I tell you, Sioux native from Sioux, Ontario, he's going to come out this year with an absolute vengeance. Okay, that guy should have been drafted, and why he wasn't drafted, I don't understand. They had 60-plus points last year. He's a top 6 guy last year. Yes, he played with some talent with Hayden and Frost, just to name a few, but he's going to come out and just be absolutely on fire. Now, we don't know if Barrett Hayton's going to return. Yes, you and I, Scott, have said that we don't believe that he's going to return.
I'd say it's doubtful.
Yeah, doubtful, right? It's very doubtful that he is. Okay, but if he does return, it's either he's going to fetch us a great trade, a fantastic trade, or he's going to play on the top 2 lines, and he's going to be just another captain on the team who's going to lead the squad. And the Hounds right now are in a predicament, I feel, where they're going to finish middle of the pack. And you and I last year, Scott, said that the Hounds were going to be a bottom seed team and potentially be out first round. You and I both said that. We're not wrong too often, I like to say.
Well,
but sometimes we are. Okay,
go to the archives. You might be surprised.
but last year, they impressed. And, I feel Saginaw was a superior team last year. And Belalta was the guy who had to step up last year. And he did some games he did not, right? But at the end of the day, the Hounds this year will be a playoff team. They will be very competitive. I like who they're bringing. They have a great roster. I'm a big fan to see what Pitlick's going to do. I'll tell you right now, Jaromir Pitlick is going to be a first-round pick in the National Hockey League. He's special to watch, and they have some good players coming up that they've drafted. Raftis, it went from Dubas to Raftis. This team has made the playoffs ever since Dubas has basically left and been there, and Raftis, since he's taken over. They have a great coaching staff, obviously, with John there, so they are going to be properly ran from the management side, coaching side, and do not doubt this roster. This is a competitive roster, hard-working roster, a pesky roster, as I like to say, and they're playoff bound in my opinion.
Dave, real quick, you got about 2 minutes left in this segment. Moving on to the Toronto Blue Jays, they made news yesterday. Marcus Stroman goes to New York, the New York Mets. Many people thought it was going to be the Yankees. Some thought it was the Astros. He goes to the Mets in exchange for a couple pitching prospects. You kind of thought this was going to happen as a Jays guy. Just give us a brief synopsis of the trade. What do you think?
Honestly, this was something that was going to happen, and it was something maybe that wasn't going to be considered until the fans and the media and the management pushed him out because he's still younger.
Yeah.
But by the time the Jays are going to be competitive again, I'd say at least 5 years, 3 to 5 years. 3's being generous, okay? But I think more of a playoff contender in about 4 or 5 years. Stroman's going to be out of that prime, per se. And you know what? He grew up a Mets fan. He did believe, like his dad even said, Earl Stroman said today that he thought he was going to be on the Yankees, and that's kind of where he was pushing for. I'm happy the Jays didn't trade him there. They called the Yankees and said, I want Tavius Garcia. We didn't get him. Okay, then we're not trading him there. You're trading him to your rival team. We want your best prospect. Then it's great. If the Red Sox are calling, you're not even picking up the phone. And same with the Rays. The Mets is what he grew up as a fan. They sent him to New York, where he's from, and where he can play under the lights, quote unquote, like he wanted to. Stroman, they got a good return. I know a lot of people are doubting the return that they got, number 4 and 6 prospect. I'm a fan of who they brought in, and they're going to be good guys in the system, and hopefully they develop them properly. Okay, Stroman being traded was something that we knew was going to happen, and it happened with the best interest of the organization, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the deadline brings. Gonna miss you, though, Stro Show.
Yeah, and the Mets a couple weeks ago, they were kind of dead and buried, and all of a sudden you win four in a row though in the National League wild card. You're within a few games. Everybody's alive. That second wild card really has changed things on the trade deadline. I think it's just something that has really been something that maybe a lot of people haven't talked about. It's just
a couple games back, right? I believe the Mets,
the wild card. Yeah,
it's unbelievable, and the Stroman's gonna be right in there, and it'd be interesting to see if they trade Syndergaard as well. The Mets deadline's gonna be insane this year.
Dave McCaig joining us on the game. Dave will be back for the second hour. All 2 hours of our show is on ESPN 1400. The second hour, the round table with myself, Dave, EJ Russell from Escanaba, and our next guest, Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. We'll get to him in our next segment. Dave, take a break, and we'll talk to you here in about 20 minutes.
I think I put a pair of shorts on and a T-shirt from what I brought in the bag. It's a little hot in here.
It's a little warm.
A little warm, but that's okay. That's nice to see the hot weather.
We'll take the sunshine. We're going to take a break here on the game. We come back. We're going to talk Metro Detroit sports with Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. That's coming up next on the game. Heard online at thegamesportshow.com and right here on ESPN 1400.
O'Connor's Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram.
The summer clearance event is on now at O'Connor's of Pickford. Summer clearance means summer savings. Great ultra-low mileage leases on all the rides you love, like a new 2019 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk, just $269 a month plus tax for a 24-month ultra-low mile lease. Only $36.24 due at signing. A new 2019 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Bighorn 4x4. Buy during the summer clearance event with as much as $12,000 in rebates and incentives, or a 24-month ultra-low mile lease for $249 a month plus tax. Just $36.10 due at signing. Ask about a new 2019 Jeep Compass Limited 36-month ultra-low mile lease, just $249 a month plus tax. You pay just $28.84 due at signing. The summer clearance event now at O'Connor's of Pickford.
O'Connor's Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram.
Reed Metals in Dafter, family owned and operated for over 35 years, is your honest, main source, one-stop metal recycling business serving northern Michigan. Bring your unwanted scrap metal or scrap vehicles to Reed Metals, and they'll print you a check. Reed Metals is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturdays from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Reed Metals will pay you for items like scrap vehicles, heavy equipment, catalytic converters, radiators, vehicle batteries, aluminum rims, copper, brass, lead, tin, auto cast, aluminum, steel, and many more types of recyclable metals, and they'll print you a check with your name on it. Reed Metals is the place that will give you great service and an honest price without surprise fees or deductions at the scale. Visit reedmetals.com or call 906-632-0018. Bring it in or have it hauled, and Reed Metals will print you a check with your name on it. Reed Metals, located just 11.5 miles south of the Soo on South Mackinac Trail.
Paul Thompson here with Gaylor Thompson Sales and Service, just off I-75 in Rudyard, inviting you to stop in and see the largest selection of equipment in the Eastern Upper Peninsula. To complement our full line of Mahindra tractors, we have trailers including goosenecks, dumps, cargoes, car haulers, and utility trailers. We also have a full line of lawn and garden equipment with Cub Cadet and X-Mark. Over 50 mowers to choose from, a full line of parts, and we service what we sell. Looking for an outdoor wood or pellet furnace or parts? We stock water pumps, exchangers, PEX supplies, and more. Also, check out our full line of Boss and Fisher snow and ice equipment. Here at Gaylor Thompson and Rudyard, we are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturdays, 9 to noon for your convenience. Just off I-75 in Rudyard, 30 minutes from the bridge. If you need it, we have it. Give us a call at 906-478-3026. Hope to see you here.
You can catch podcasts of the game at thegamesportshow.com. Now let's get back to it with Scott Nason here on ESPN 1400.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the studios of ESPN 1400 here in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Our broadcast engineer is Alyssa Bradley, and we are joined by our next guest, co-host, and weekly correspondent. His name is Butch Davis. You can find him and his own radio show, Butch On Sports, at his podcast page. That's simply Butch2. TOO.podomatic.com, or you can find all his shows on our podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, as Butch joins us each and every week to give our listeners here in the Eastern Upper Peninsula a first-hand account of what's going on in the Metro Detroit sports scene. Butch, how you doing on this last Monday night of July, my friend?
You don't want to know. The voice is cracking as we speak here, but hey, we're going to make it through this bad boy here.
I have no doubt you will, my friend. And let's start with the Detroit Tigers, Butch. Boy, you know, they were in some of those games this weekend in Seattle, getting swept yesterday afternoon. They'll take on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim starting tonight, a game you can hear on our sister station, WSOO, 12:30 a.m., around 9:30 tonight. Butch, it hasn't been pretty on and off the field for the Detroit Tigers. Can you give us any updates on what the heck's going on with that team?
Not a doggone thing here. I think everything's going to blow up to smithereens probably tomorrow and Wednesday at that 4 o'clock hour there in the afternoon, 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for trades or whatnot there. If I had a good guess of who's going to be going, it would probably be Shane Green and also Nicholas Castellanos is going to be maybe split in Detroit. Boyd has been mentioned, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think they want a lot for Boyd, and I don't blame him. He can be a very good pitcher when he want to be there, at least at the point in time right now. But again, the Tigers team is just so messed up here with not consistent hitting, not consistent pitching. It goes and comes as it stays there. But Boyd would be probably, to me, a mistake to let him go right now. I think he wants to see this particular venture of the Tigers go through.
Butch, since June 1st, the Tigers have won 8 games. 8 games, 8-39 in their last 47 games. I know it's been a rebuild. I know expectations were low, but 8 wins in almost 2 months. I mean, that shouldn't happen in professional sports and baseball, should it?
No, it shouldn't. Another stat you want to take under consideration. The Tigers have been in the lead in games this year 58 times, okay, before they lost the lead or end up losing there. 58 times there. Just think about it if they had some consistent pitching and consistent hitting. But right now, everything is falling apart with them right now. Also, the defense is not doing the job that mainly everybody wanted to see from the Detroit Tigers. It is a mess right now. So fans are going to have to grin and bear with it with the Detroit Tigers there.
Yeah, tough to grin this season, that's for sure, Butch. Let's move on to a team that, well, has just started their season, their training camp in Allen Park, the Detroit Lions. Some big news over the weekend as the Lions picked up free agent Mike Daniels from the Green Bay Packers. Butch, have you had a chance to get to Allen Park and check out some of the Lions' goings and doings and a few of the moves they've made?
Well, a couple of times this week I've been out there at Allen Park to watch the Lions practice or whatnot. Just seeing people go to work with a yeoman type of attitude, very positive out there. Of course, all the training camps are more or less very positive. People are ready to get back to work and make real money there and hopefully win some ball games where we can see playoff in the future of the Detroit Lions there. But right now, the enthusiasm is just pretty high right now.
And, you know, you look at this defensive line, Butch, it has to be one of the Lions' strengths. I mean, adding Daniels to an already pretty good defensive line, this is something that the Lions have worked on improving. And, you know, you put this defensive line on paper against a lot of the teams in the NFC North. I mean, the Lions stand pretty strong there.
Right now, yes. They're going back to the old ways of having a great defense there, and somewhat right now the offense is getting itself gelled in a new system as Darrell Bevels, the new offensive coordinator, is trying to bring everybody to point. And having some consistent offense running as well as passing there. So, again, some things that'll be a work in order right now with the Detroit Lions. But, again, hopefully this will be somewhat a positive year where we can see playoffs in the picture.
One guy that we've talked about a lot, Butch, and I know you're high on, is Zach Zenner, running back for the Detroit Lions. Somebody that was released last season. The Lions bring him back. And I know, looking at from what I see up here, obviously you have a much better account of Zenner. He's just one of those guys, kind of a blue-collar, hard-working guy that, you wish the Lions almost had at every position. Have you had a chance to see Zenner? What are your thoughts on him so far?
I talked to Zach a couple of times last week there, and he's pretty excited of getting the season ready to go there. Hopefully no injuries come to part him ways with the Detroit Lions this year as it has in the past. Zenner is a hidden jewel right now the Detroit Lions got, and I think right now, in my guesstimation, he's going to be used a heck of a lot as a runner instead of always being on special teams right now. He's one of the better special team members they have, but again, his running is invaluable when the Lions consistently run him in the backfield there. Along with the new runners they have there, I think it's going to be pretty doggone complete when it comes down to running and hopefully balance out what Matthew Stafford has to do in order to get the team rolling and running there.
And we'll have Detroit Lions football on our sister station, Oldies 93, starting in September. Butch, let's move on to the Detroit Pistons. About the only news I could find this week is they named a head coach for the Grand Rapids Drive. Assistant coach Donnie Tyndall was promoted to head coach for the Detroit Pistons affiliate. And any thoughts on that? Any other Pistons news you have to share?
No. The biggest news was the lawsuit that was settled here just recently here. I do believe Thursday, the player who had some fallout basically and died on the court last year with the Detroit Drive, passed away. Family is being settled up with the Detroit Pistons on that account there. They were going to go to court, but I do believe they had settled out of court. They didn't give a figure, a number, how much the family's going to receive for that particular player. But again, until the Pistons actually release the full statement in effect there, we're not going to mention any names or the characters within that part there of the lawsuit there.
Butch, Detroit Red Wings still a month or so away from training camp in Traverse City. Anything to add with the Wings? Again, pretty quiet time of year here in late July, early August. Any Wings news to share?
Pretty quiet, but again, the Red Wings, I do believe, are going to make a couple more moves before the actual season comes arise there. Red Wings seem to be solid, a lot better suited for a young defenseman right now there. That has been the biggest concern with everybody. They didn't have a defense. This year, their defense should be a lot more tolerable when it comes down to supporting the goaltender at the nets.
Butch Davis joining us on the game here on ESPN 1400. Butch is just going to be with us for this segment. Normally he's with us for the 2-hour roundtable, but he will pass tonight and be back with us next week. Butch, we talked about it earlier here locally. High school sports practice season 2 weeks away, starting 2 weeks from tonight, Monday night. High school football practice sessions will begin, and then volleyball, cross country, boys soccer, and other sports starting that week. You cover high school sports along with others. Are you ready for the high school season? It's 2 weeks away. Can you believe it?
Well, 2 weeks away, but again, there's many teams in the state of Michigan right now are going to their particular practices or walkthroughs, as I normally call it there. The state has a rule that they have to have a 2-week break before they actually start training camp. So right now, legally, the team should not be practicing at all, but before that particular 2 weeks, teams were practicing, getting in shape, having somewhat a camaraderie, getting used to new players coming around on the team and whatnot there. That should be pretty interesting there. I can't wait for the high school to get started there and have at it with many of the teams in the state of Michigan there. It's pretty busy out here, but right now for the next 2 weeks, it should be pretty quiet there, although we know some teams are going to sneak around and go into gyms and close doors and have practices and whatnot going on there.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on those teams, that's for sure, Butch. Looking at college football starting in about a month, Butch, we haven't really talked about it too much, but being that it's a month out, we've had Big Ten Media Days, and this the time of year where there's always a lot of hype for the Michigan Wolverines under their head coach, Jim Harbaugh. 5th year for Jim Harbaugh, and no Urban Meyer now with the Ohio State Buckeyes for Coach Harbaugh to lose to, because he has the last 4 seasons. Is this the year? Is this the year that Michigan potentially gets it done? I mean, the schedule seems favorable. They have a lot of experience coming back. No Urban Meyer. What's your early thoughts in the Big Ten season about a month out from games starting?
Not too early, indeed. There, again, many things can happen during the particular workout practices and whatnot. There, I do believe Michigan State is going to be the team that Michigan's going to have to reckon with now. We said something about Ohio State. That's going to be a work in progress with new coaching staff and all there. But I do believe right now Michigan State, with a stable coaching staff, is going to give the Big Ten a whole heck of a lot of trouble. No one's mentioned them per se there, but again, Michigan State is not a fly-by-night team there. They're going to be the team that many teams in the Big Ten is going to have to reckon with there, and going to be somewhat at the top of the food chain when it comes down to Big Ten supremacy there.
Butch, what are some of the other things going on in the Metro Detroit sports world that people are talking about that we haven't covered tonight? I know there's sometimes some things that get lost in the shuffle. What are some of the other things going on?
Well, you got some goodies here. Today it was mentioned, last night per se it was mentioned, but today it was officially mentioned that the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix, and Bud Decker was announcing this particular statement, it's going to commence with also the golf tournament, the Rocket Mortgage Golf Tournament there. So that particular weekend between May 29th and the 31st, you are not only going to get golfing in the state of Michigan, in the Detroit metropolitan area, but also the Grand Prix is going to commence that particular weekend as well. So many people in southeastern Michigan and around the state of Michigan has 2 venues that they can really blow their whistle on there. So they're looking at right now, in essence right now, over maybe 200 people on courts, maybe 250,000 people commencing in southeast Michigan for those 2 events. Should be pretty exciting. A lot of fanfare for the city of Detroit and also the outskirt areas of southeast Michigan there to kind of boast and brag about. So a lot of people are going to be in town that particular weekend.
Butch, one other subject that you and I always enjoy talking about is the world of wrestling, the WWE to be exact. Did you watch the Raw reunion on Monday? And if so, did you like it? Did you not like it? And what were some of your favorite parts?
Oh boy, that was a goody two shoot there. But again, I think the WWE got overshadowed by the brand new news from the EW that they're going to commence their television schedule starting on October the 2nd there. So you don't have to wait too long for people like CM Punk and a whole lot of wrestlers that you have not seen in quite some time commence on the Turner Broadcasting Network there. It's going to be a 2-hour show that'll most likely start at 8 o'clock, end at 10 o'clock again on Wednesday, October the 2nd. The AEW is going to commence with wrestling full-fledged, and they got some formidable talent in there. Kenny Omega, if you never have seen him, he's going to be someone to deal with. Again, Ambrose, who's now John Motley, is going to be part of that collage there. Chris Jericho, you haven't seen him in a while, but he's part of it. I think the WWE, they say they welcome the competition there, but here we go all over again with the WCW type of WWE kind of fight on the wars of basically who's going to get what, when, and how there.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it needs to be some competition in the world of wrestling and sports entertainment, no doubt. Butch Davis joining us on this premiere edition on ESPN 1400 of The Game. You can catch Butch on his show, Butch On Sports. Just go to the podcast page. Simply Butch2, that's TOO.podomatic.com. You can also find his shows on our webpage, thegamesportshow.com. You can also find him on Facebook. Give him a like, give him 2 likes if you can. Just look up Butch On Sports. Butch, we know we got to go a little early tonight. I appreciate you having you on here for hour 1, and we'll talk to you next Monday night for our next edition of The Game.
Great to be part of the family of ESPN 1400 and this Solvent radio communication group there. This is a long coming there, and glad to be part of it.
Thanks, Butch, and again, we'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take the top of the hour break here on The Game. When we come back, we'll be rejoined by Dave McCaig, host of The Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario, and we'll be joined by EJ Russell from Escanaba, Michigan. That's coming up on hour 2 of The Game, online at thegamesportshow.com and heard locally right here on ESPN 1400.
Hey, did you go out for breakfast?
Yep, got a sausage McMuffin with egg from McDonald's, melty cheese, and a buttery English muffin. You?
Cereal. Just dry cereal.
You know, that kind of looks like what we feed the parakeet.
Yeah, it's probably why he's giving me the stink eye.
Good thing I got a McMuffin for you, too.
There's a better way to breakfast.
Whether you're hitting the road or hitting the ground running, wake up with an Egg McMuffin, made with a fresh cracked egg at your local participating McDonald's.
The local housing market is competitive, and unless you have the right team in your corner, you might miss out on your dream home. That's why happy customers choose Old Mission Bank for their home mortgage needs. We provide quality service from the time you submit your application to closing and then through the entire life of your loan. Let our friendly, knowledgeable staff be your financial partner. Call or stop by to check out our competitive rates and all the other fast, simple solutions we offer at Old Mission Bank. We're located in Pickford and Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. FDIC insured, equal housing lender.
When it comes to adventure, you always want more. And the 2019 Honda Pioneer 1005 is built to give you more. More power thanks to a 999cc engine. More performance from a 6-speed automatic dual-clutch transmission with paddle shifters. And more fun with Honda's quick flip seating system that lets you go from a 3-seater to a 5-seater in seconds. So head to Elite Sports Center on the I-75 Business Spur and check out the 2019 Honda Pioneer 1005 today. For your safety, read the owner's manual, wear a helmet and eye protection, always wear your seatbelt, and keep the side nets and doors closed. Pioneers are for drivers 16 years and older.
Mo at M&C Water Systems has a solution for all your water needs. Want clean, fresh drinking water? M&C Water Systems proudly distributes natural, artesian water for all your bottled water needs. Cooler rental and bottled water delivery for your home and office are available. M&C Water Systems delivers to all the local islands, too. Need a water filter? M&C has them. Need a softener? Drinking water system? Want to find out about reverse osmosis? Call Mo at M&C Water Systems today at 906-647-7307, serving the Eastern Upper Peninsula for over 25 years.
Nature isn't the only force that can leave its mark, especially when you have a tractor built to help make your property your own. The Kubota BX80 series is ready to get any job done the way it should be done. Dig, mow, haul, and comfortably maneuver in tight spaces. There's almost nothing it can't help you do. The BX series, America's best-selling subcompact tractor. Kubota, shape your world. Skinner's of Pickford, your tractor source in the north. Pickford, Michigan.
No time is better than now to get the lowest prices on a new Chevrolet, and no place wants to earn your business more than Rodenroth Motors. Terry, one of our product specialists, is here to tell you all about some great offers.
Thanks, Craig. GM employees can lease a new Chevy Equinox LT front-wheel drive for as low as $229 per month.
That sounds great, Terry.
It gets better. The Chevy Trax is only $199 a month.
What if they'd rather buy than lease?
Chevrolet has that covered as well, like 0% 60 months on the Chevy Equinox or 0% for 72 months on the Chevy Trax, or the best offer offer ever, 0% for 84 months on the 1500 LD Chevy Silverado Double Cab.
Wow, Terry, 0% for 84 months on the #1 selling truck in northern Michigan?
That's right, Craig. And we also have the largest selection of GM certified used vehicles ever, all backed with an additional 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty.
Chevy Equinox for $229 a month, Chevy Trax for $199 a month, and 0% for 84 months on Chevy Silverados. Come see why all roads lead to Rodenroth Motors for Chevy, Buick, and GMC, the #1 volume dealer in the Eastern UP. Chevy, find new roads.
Let's get to the second half of the game here on ESPN 1400, WKNW, Sault Ste. Marie's sports leader. It's the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Now, here's Scott Nason.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Hour 2 of the game here. The roundtable portion, our broadcast engineer tonight, Alyssa Bradley, in the ESPN studio, is doing a fantastic job. I can't say enough about how good of a job she's doing tonight. We're continuing to be joined by Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Kegger, welcome back.
Thank you, Scotty.
And welcoming, thank you, and welcoming our next co-host, weekly contributor to our fold, if you will, the roundtable portion, EJ Russell, live from Escanaba, Michigan. EJ, great to have you on board our debut show on ESPN 1400. Glad to have you aboard. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, and hello to all our listeners in Sault, Ontario and Sault, Michigan. Excited as always to have this opportunity with ESPN 1400, and I hope that, like Scott said earlier, it's our first live roundtable segment. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and get a different perspective on sports. We're here to give you our take, and we're always happy to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, before we get to that, guys, I just want to give our listeners, there might be some new listeners to our show, and I wanted to give them kind of the genesis of this show. It started with Dave and I back in 2015. The show was called Coffee with the Coach, and then we welcome aboard later on that year, it might have been 2016, Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. Now, where EJ came in was where we were broadcasting our show locally a couple years ago, and we were doing a roundtable topic, Dave and I, and I think Butch was a part of that too, Dave, on NHL shootouts. Yes. And you know how I feel about that. And,
you love them, don't you?
No, I don't. Okay. And EJ Russell was sitting at the away from our broadcast, having a couple beverages, and was joining the conversation without being on the show. And we said, well, you know what? Why don't you come on the show the next week?
Yep.
And we haven't got rid of him since.
No, he's been one of the most loved.
I'm like a bad sickness or something. I'm just stick around and I linger.
Well, so that's how EJ came on board, and we're happy to have him. The show would not be where it is without the 4 individual parts making a collective unit. And so, EJ, we want to give you first crack at a topic. What we do is we just throw out a topic. None of this is rehearsed ahead of time.
Nope.
This is totally spontaneous. And so, EJ, we will give you first crack at your topic in the world of sports. Dave will give you first answer. So, EJ Russell, what is on your mind in the world of sports?
Well, since it's our debut show, I'm going to go with what I know best. And I want to talk a little bit of NFL football here. And I want to quickly just ask you gentlemen, going into the preseason, barring any further injuries, as some teams have had some, who would you say are your top 3 or 4 teams in both the AFC and NFC? And then I also want to, if we get a few more extra minutes, just kind of talk about NFL free agency. And if you want to specifically, I'd like us to address the situation going on with the Dallas Cowboys with Ezekiel Elliott, ready to renegotiate his deal with 2 years left. But they also have Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper there. So my question to you guys is, if you're the Cowboys, what priority do you give those players, and what do you think about the NFL going into the preseason at the start of training camp?
Yeah, training camps have begun, Dave. Exhibition games will start next week, I believe. So EJ has a very pointed topic. What's your thoughts, NFL 2019 and the Cowboys situation?
Well, followers of the Game Sports Show from previous know that I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Okay, so new listeners, now you're learning that, and we've had a change in our team this offseason. I say our, like I'm a part of that organization.
You're related to the Roonies all of a sudden?
But I mean that in the way that that's the team that I grew up cheering for. So I want to state that first before I state who my top 3 to 4 teams actually are going to be, because the Steelers aren't in that top 4, in my opinion, this year. I believe they're going to be a playoff team still. However, coming out of the AFC, I got to go with the New England Patriots. Can't believe I'm saying this. And EJ, don't jump out of your chair over there. The Cleveland Browns, I got to say the Houston Texans, and then the Kansas City Chiefs would have to be the top 4 for me in the AFC. Going to the NFC, I'd have to go with here. I'm a big fan of the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're overtake the Eagles again.
Even without Ezekiel?
Even without Ezekiel, I think that I just like their O-line, the defensive line. I think as a team, the Cowboys just find a way to win. They're one of those teams that just find ways to win. But the Eagles are going to be a tough challenge.
In the playoffs, though?
No, they're not.
They haven't won much in the playoffs.
They're literally choke artists, I guess, in the playoffs. You want to go that route. But the Bears, I got to go with textbook there. Sorry, Detroit Lions fans. I got to say there might be a little bit of an improvement year for the Lions, but I don't think
7-9,
maybe one game below 500. And then going with the NFC South, I'm sorry, Saints fans, but I got the Falcons taking that in the NFC South. I think the Falcons are going to come out this year, guns a-blazing. Julio Jones is thinking he's going to catch over 3,000 yards. Okay, I made a little bet on the sidelines. You can listen to a previous show of the Game Sports Show what I think if Julio Jones actually does that. And the NFC West, I am a big fan of the LA Rams, and I think the Rams are going to actually be Super Bowl champions this year if I want to round out everything for you. So, EJ, that's the question to you. Barring any other injuries or anything of such, that's where I think it's going to go. And at the end of the day, the Bengals losing Green and losing that really helps the Steelers' chances in their division. So I wasn't clapping because that's rude to do. However, you know what? It's a benefit for the Steelers to have to take advantage of to try to finish at least close to the Browns because I think they're going to be division champions this year all in all. And I'm excited for the NFL to start. I can't believe it's already starting. I just need to see the Patriots lose. Okay, I got to be honest. I'm done with the Patriots winning. We get it. Tom Brady, you're the GOAT. You're amazing. You're the best quarterback of all time. Sorry, I think he is, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's time for a new champion. Now, the NHL, EJ, to some quick reaction before we go over to Scott with the NHL reaction. You have with the Mitch Marner was one thing that I wanted to say that still I can't believe that's someone who's not signed yet. I know you brought up the topic of the NHL. That's just one thing that I'm following here in the National Hockey League that I still can't believe he hasn't signed. But I did say in an earlier show that he wouldn't sign until September 1st, Labor Day. So I guess I shouldn't be second guess. So it's got a month, but I still can't believe he hasn't because as soon as he does, that's when the rest of the dominoes are going to fall.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the NFL this year. Always unpredictable as far as, teams that come out of nowhere. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, not many people had him throwing for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns or whatever the heck he ended up throwing. Yep. I think teams that have a chance to really regress a bit from last year, I think Kansas City. I don't think Mahomes can carry that load. Tyreek Hill apparently can play despite allegedly what he did. Yet Golden Tate, taking some fertility drug, gets 4-game suspension. Really? NFL? Really? Come on. I just think Kansas City and Chicago. I think Chicago, potentially, I think they overachieved last year. Wow. I think those are two teams that I really have a chance to regress a bit. Teams I think have a chance to stay on top. Hard to pick against New England. They win.
Yeah, for sure.
You take Gronkowski out, but I think Gronkowski was targeted 6 times per game last year. So I don't know how much it's going to be a loss. Anytime you lose Gronk, it's going to be tougher for Brady, but it doesn't seem to matter who the tight end is. Benjamin Watson, doesn't seem to matter who the wide receivers are. Brady wins, and I have a hard time picking against New England right now. I like the Rams. I'm a little concerned about Gurley as far as that knee and why he wasn't playing in spots that he should have been in the playoffs last year. But, that's probably the hot pick in the NFC. Indianapolis, a team, Andrew Luck had a bounce back year, but is that defense that good in the AFC South? And, Cleveland is a team, and I know EJ is going to speak to this a lot more. Cleveland's a team that just has a lot of talent at important positions. And Baker Mayfield, I think doesn't regress. I think he goes off this year.
Absolutely.
Adding Odell Beckham Jr., having more options, and that Cleveland team is going to be very interesting. Are they going to make the Super Bowl? Probably not. Are they going to make the playoffs? I think they do. Are they going to win the division? Cincinnati's down, Pittsburgh's down, Baltimore, you don't really know where they're at. They're kind of in the middle. Yep. I think Cleveland's a team to watch out for. The Lions, everything always seems good in August with the Lions. They pick up, a good defensive lineman. Stafford is this, they have this. At the end of the day, the Lions, until they win another playoff game in my lifetime, which has been a while. This just in. I'm not buying into the lines at all. Packers, I think, potentially are a question mark as far as where they're going to go with new coaching and Aaron Rodgers. So those are some of the things. And quickly, EJ, to your topic on Ezekiel Elliott, I think that the way free agency is going, it seemed like a while back that fans sided with the players a lot more than they do now. Now I'm seeing it. It's like, geez, these guys are holding out. I mean, Le'Veon Bell last year doesn't play because he's not happy. I think more and more fans are starting to side with ownership as far as, look, guy, what's the difference in you making $10 million or $12 million? We just want to win games. We want to win playoff games. And so I think you're seeing a shift with the fan base, maybe not as much pro player as more pro owner. Those are my thoughts. EJ, great topic. Your thoughts?
Well, I won't go, for those of you that are new listeners, and most of you are, I'm an avid fan of all things Cleveland and Ohio sports, which is my hometown. That's where I grew up. As far as the Browns are concerned, I'm not going to say much that anybody hasn't already heard. Baker Mayfield is in a situation where he can potentially become one of the best quarterbacks in this league, in my opinion, and start to be considered as one of the elite. I think the addition of Odell Beckham Jr. is hands down probably the best thing that happened to any team in the offseason, not just because he's one of the best talents, but because he's paired up with a guy he went to play with in college. And he's also paired up with his college wide receiver coach in Cleveland, which is something that's exceptional. One thing that I do think many people should know, if you haven't heard this, in Browns training camp, you can immediately feel a different vibe there. And the reason I say that is because it is not uncommon at this time in the National Football League for there to be fights in training camp between either your own squad or inter-squad practices. And the Browns had a fight, Browns had a fight in their recent practice. And Freddie Kitchens made them run sprints. The whole team was punished because of a few guys' mistakes. And I think that that's something to be said of getting towards this attitude of we are all one team. And I think that the players have really bought in. And I feel like what Freddie Kitchens is attempting to do there. As far as my favorites this year, obviously, I think the Cleveland Browns are the favorite to win the AFC North, and that's not just because of my bias. I really do think that they have the best talent and potential on any team in that division. I think that it still runs through Pittsburgh, though, okay? They've been the class of that division for so long. Do not count them out. That is a team that under its ownership has always found a way to win. I think that, again, in the East, it's got to go through New England. Until they lose, you can't put them out. Bill Belichick's a great coach, has always found a way to win football games. In the South, I'll disagree, and I say that the Houston Texans are a team that really looks like they're on the rise, and if they can figure out Deshaun Watson and keep him healthy and keep him consistent, I think that they're one of the best talents in this league. I also want to go to the NFC South. I think that if they can figure out the Michael Thomas situation, that they're probably one of the deadliest teams out there. Kansas City, still loaded with a lot of talent. When you go out that way to the West, the LA Rams, still fantastic. I mean, for the most part, you can take a lot of your front runners, but I think that a team that you can expect to see a jump out of that we didn't see last year, the Tennessee Titans, they're getting better. They've added a better backup in Ryan Tannehill, and that's a team that is on the cusp of becoming great. So keep an eye on the Tennessee Titans. That's kind of my off-color pick as far as specifically talking about the Dallas Cowboys contract situations and holdouts. I think Jerry Jones is going about the right way of conducting himself. This is business as usual. This is just called the business of football. Players hold out. We figure out their contracts. We move on. I think what's important, what Dallas should do, is talk to Ezekiel Elliott and be like, listen, we got to take care of these other two guys first. You still got a year left. We will get to you. We will renegotiate your deal. There's no way they don't do that. This is a guy that's touching the football 300 times a year. They're working him hard, and they're running through him. And this is a guy that can handle that load. And it's, for the most part, been able to avoid injury that has cost him any kind of time. So I think that the Dallas Cowboys need to figure out Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott. I don't think Dak Prescott should get paid as much as he's probably going to. I think that he's a good leader. I just don't think that he's the best pocket passer. I think Amari Cooper's done exceptional there. And Ezekiel Elliott needs to be one of the highest paid running backs in football. But you got to take care of these guys that still got a year left on their deal. Zeke's got 2. So we'll see what Jerry Jones and his son do there.
Before we go to break, guys, I'm going to make an amendment or an addition to EJ's topic. Dave McCaig, EJ Russell, and yours truly, Scott Nason, July 29th, 2019. What is your Super Bowl pick? Right now, Dave will go to you first, then myself, then EJ.
I believe when I said it right off the hop there with EJ's answer, I wanted to go with the LA Rams. I think with the team that they have, I know you're concerned about Todd Gurley. I'm not. I think he's going to come back better than ever even this year. So I got to go with the LA Rams.
I will take the New England Patriots over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
Carson Wentz.
You're going to say who they're going to do it over.
Sure.
I'm going to say a rematch. We're going to say Patriots, Rams, and the Rams win. Sorry to cut you off there. But.
That's all right. EJ, what's your Super Bowl pick as of the last Monday in July?
Well, biased opinion. I'll take my Browns because you know what? Why not? Super Bowl or bust. But if you want me to give you an absolute honest pick, I think it's got to be the New Orleans Saints. I think that they have exceptional talent on defense in Cameron Jordan, and I think that Drew Brees is still a player that's playing in his prime as long as they can figure out this Michael Thomas contract, a guy that 100% deserves to be paid. I don't see why one of the best wide receivers and quarterbacks in this league don't end up on top with the amount of talent that they have on defense. So I'll say the New Orleans Saints, and we'll see what happens from there.
And we will see what happens indeed, and we will be talking about it all season long on the game, and no doubt about that. We're going to take our first break in hour 2 of the game. We come back. Dave McCaig will have the next topic. Lots of sports talk and interesting sports talk, opinions, all sorts of things here on the game. Heard online at thegamesportshow.com and on ESPN 1400.
Lasting therapeutic effect compared to the original formula found at other retailers. Stop in and see why so many people choose Arfstrom to be their medical equipment and supplies provider.
Arfstrom Medical Equipment and Supplies is part of Arfstrom Pharmacy, a locally owned HealthMart pharmacy, ACHC accredited, located at 409 Ashland Street, downtown Sioux, Michigan. HealthMart, caring for you and about you.
Overacting?
Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English debt. In peace, there's nothing.
Underacting.
Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English debt. It doesn't take a theater director to tell the difference between overacting and underacting, but it's not as easy knowing whether you're overinsured or underinsured. A low rate isn't a good thing if everything you hold dear, your family, your home, your future, isn't protected properly. That's why you have Farm Bureau of Michigan agent Dean Garlinghouse to take the drama out of making sure you have the coverage you need. Insurance is Dean's life. Trust your future to Dean Garlinghouse to avoid poor coverage.
Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio. A fellow of infinite jest, a most excellent fancy.
Oy. So you can get on with your life. Call Dean Garlinghouse at Farm Bureau Insurance today.
O'Connor's Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
The summer clearance event is on now at O'Connor's of Pickford. Summer clearance means summer savings. Great ultra-low mileage leases on all the rides you love, like a new 2019 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk, just $269 a month plus tax for a 24-month ultra-low mile lease, only $36.24 due at signing. A new 2019 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Bighorn 4x4. Buy during the summer clearance event with as much as $12,000 in rebates and incentives, or a 24-month ultra-low mile lease for $249 a month plus tax. Just $36.10 due at signing. Ask about a new 2019 Jeep Compass Limited 36-month ultra-low mile lease. Just $249 a month plus tax. You pay just $28.84 due at signing. The summer clearance event now at O'Connor's of Pickford.
O'Connor's Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram.
Let's get to the second half of the game here on ESPN 1400, WKNW, Sault Ste. Marie's sports leader. It's the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Now, here's Scott Nason.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400. Scott Nason in the studios here on 3 Mile Road, along with Dave McCaig and EJ Russell from Escanaba, Michigan. This the roundtable portion. EJ's still with us there. I got to give credit again to broadcast engineer Alyssa Bradley. This is the first time we didn't get a dress rehearsal for this. This is literally the first time that, not only are we doing the show here, but, her and Matt Pocket also helping out tonight have done a great job.
Fantastic.
It really has. There's a lot, and I got to learn this at some point, but not tonight. I just want to get through the show tonight. I'll learn the technical aspects later on. Let's continue the sports talk, gentlemen. Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show in Sault, Ontario. It is your turn for a topic. What's on your mind in the world of sports?
anyone who follows the show, and I know we got a good amount of listeners, which we appreciate. We appreciate the new support here on the Game Sports Show as well. However, everyone knows I like to talk about hockey, right? However, we did a lot of hockey talk in the first hour, and the NHL world has kind of slimmed down a little bit. The only kind of news we've heard is Andrei Vasilevskiy re-signed with Tampa today. Got to get that out there.
Big signing, yeah.
$9.5 million per year. Big signing for Tampa as they hope to have a better outcome next year opposed to a first-round exit. However, I'm going to go the MLB route, okay? And I kind of already given my NHL point when I thought EJ brought up the NHL on his topic. So I'm going to move on from that and go to the MLB. The MLB, the trade deadline is just 2 days away. That's Wednesday. And we've already had some trades. You had Ramo go from the Miami Marlins to the Twins. Stroman goes to the Mets that we've also talked about in the first hour, Scott. You got Eric Sogard get traded to the Tampa Bay Rays. I just kind of want to go around the table, get your perspective on the current state in the MLB and just some trades that you think are going to happen. There's one thing that we didn't like doing a whole lot prior to the show is predictions. But you know what? We found out that our predictions are sometimes right. And you know what? I think it'd be good to do some predictions out there where you think some players are going to land or even if players are going to get traded, just all around MLB talk.
Well, I'll start, Dave. And the Phillies made a move here this afternoon in the trade with the New York Mets as they acquire left-handed pitcher Jason Vargas in a trade with a division rival. So, we talked about the Mets acquiring Stroman in the first hour there from the Blue Jays. Bush talked about the Tigers. I think you're going to see Nick Catalanos go somewhere. I think Matthew Boyd is probably safe. It's been horrible in Detroit, to say the least. 8 wins in the last 2 months. That's not good. And this is a team that started off the first couple of weeks. I saw them a week and a half into the season. They were in first place, and little did I know that the bottom was going to fall out. But looking at some of the other players, I'm not going to talk too much about that, Dave. But just looking at just some of these races going on, you have the Central race. I mean, this is a good race between Minnesota and Cleveland. Minnesota is just knocking the cover off the ball, to quote Roy Hobbs, and Cleveland just kind of slowly getting up there. They're only 2 games back. Bauer, nice job there yesterday throwing the ball into the center field stands.
Frank Kona was not happy, though.
I can't imagine. And Bauer I think he's still apologizing for that. I think his apology was about 10 minutes long. You look at the Yankees, obviously, some will say the team to beat, but Boston beat them 3 out of 4. Yep. Boston's all of a sudden alive for the wild card. Not many people thought they were going to be, and they're considering their horrendous start. Houston in the West, it really seems like the same cast of characters in the American League other than Minnesota. In the National League, I mean, you got a great race again. It seems like every year the NL Central just has these kind of races. You have 3 teams within 1 game of each other. The Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Brewers, you pretty much pick them in that one. The Braves in the East are doing very well, 5.5 games ahead of Washington, and the Dodgers just running away with it again. But where it gets really interesting, and that's where I think you're going to see some of these other moves are with these teams that are, in the wild card hunt, but maybe not quite right there. I mean, you look at the American League right now, your wild card leader is Cleveland, and then you have 3 teams kind of battling there. Oakland, who would be the second wild card team, Tampa Bay and Boston, they're just a game out. And in the National League, it's even more wide open right now as you have 7 teams within 3.5 games of each other. Washington and the Cubs in the wild card, St. Louis as well. Phillies and the Brewers a game back. San Francisco still alive, 2.5 games back. So I think there's a lot of moving parts, and you're going to see a busy offseason, or I should say trade deadline coming up here in, next day and a half, I guess it is.
31st Wednesday.
So it should be very interesting. EJ Russell, your thoughts on Dave's topic, sir?
Well, I'll definitely say it's a surprise topic from what I'll call Mr. Hockey of our show.
Oh, thank you, sir.
But I think, he's not as great as Gordie Howe. Let's be honest here. He's pretty good, but he's Mr. Electric Avenue, but he's not Gordie Howe.
Is that Eddie Grant? Go ahead, EJ.
I'll say this. I'm really surprised to see the New York Mets being buyers and acquiring Stroman here. This is a team that's sitting at 50 and 55. However, Scott, you point out that there's several teams sitting from nothing to 3.5 games back in that wild card race. And we've seen teams in leagues, and I'll reference the NHL here, that were sitting in last place come middle of the season that ended up making the Stanley Cup Finals, St. Louis Blues. Mm-hmm. So this is definitely not something that's unheard of, and anything can happen. But to see the New York Mets being buyers when most people thought that they were getting ready to move Noah Syndergaard, that was something that I found to be very surprising. So if you're going to keep an eye on the trade deadline, I'll tell you right now that I would be most interested in watching the New York Mets, see if they bring in another hitter, see if they bring somebody that brings in something defensively for them. They're buyers at this point. They're not giving up hope. They want to compete, and they're in a division that is potentially wide open. I mean, yeah, they're still sitting pretty far back, but they're sitting far back from some pretty good teams. I mean, Washington and Philadelphia are both underperforming with the amount of talent that they have there. The New York Mets have an opportunity to jump up into there. I don't think they're going to catch the Atlanta Braves. I think that they've done a good job of adding talent this year and getting Dallas Keuchel. They have Acuna Jr., who's one of the best talents in Major League Baseball right now. I think that's a division in baseball that I'm really interested in watching. I'm telling you right now, the New York Mets are in a position to buy. I think another team that's in a position to buy right now is the New York Yankees, who's gotten significantly less production out of their pitching than they have. The Boston Red Sox just came and stole, 3 out of that 4-game series or whatever it was. And Boston's a team that has significantly underachieved this year. However, they're starting to get the run production from when men are in scoring position, which is something that they didn't do well earlier in the year. As long as they continue to hit the baseball when they have those runners in scoring position, watch Boston make a run at the wild card. But Cleveland is in a spot where they could be a buyer or a seller. Trevor Bauer is a guy that's gotten a significant level of interest from multiple teams, and he's a guy that they could move who's an exceptional talent. However, with his antics the other day, I don't know if that's going to happen. But watch for the Mets to be buyers, look for Cleveland to potentially sell, and look for the Yankees to add to their starting rotation.
Dave McCaig, great topic. Your thoughts on Major League Baseball heading into the trade deadline?
Definitely appreciate the great topic point there, but you have
that was your topic,
right now.
so.
Yes, you know what? I appreciate there for that. But you have the MLB right now that is the talk in sports. Right? You have the NBA and the NHL. It's kind of on a standstill, even despite a busy offseason for both leagues. But you have an area with the MLB that is in a prediction. That you have so many teams that want to buy and so many teams that want to sell. I think in terms of the MLB and. With the Toronto Blue Jays, they're sellers. And everyone knows who follows the show that I am definitely someone who follows and does a lot of analytics with the Blue Jays. And if I was a general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, Ross Atkins or Shapiro, who I talked about earlier this week, that I don't fully trust in this rebuild, even though after the Stroman trade, which happened after Sunday's recording, that, you know what, that was a very good trade by them. But I will say that the Blue Jays, it's a great time to be a GM and also just to be a manager for that team because you don't have the expectations, right? And you got the Baltimore Orioles that are an absolute dumpster fire. I just want to use that term for them because they're at risk of being well over 100 losses this year. They're probably going to be almost close to the 110.
They're thankful for the Tigers right now.
Definitely. Yeah. And overall, a lot of teams that have some talent to sell. You mentioned the Tigers have some talent to sell as well. Kansas City Royals have some talent to sell. And teams that are going to be buying are definitely the Yankees, the Rays, the Red Sox, and all the leaders in the division that even Scott attested to. So right now, though, the wild card going to the AL, I'm going to say it right now, the Boston Red Sox are going to get one of those spots. For anyone who doubts that the Red Sox aren't going to make the playoffs, I want to know your reasoning to why. They had a bad start, sure, but look at them since their bad start. This is a team that's had bad starts. If I believe, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the last, for sure, 2 years, potentially 3 of the last 5 years, where they started under 500 in the first 30 to 40 games. And they made the playoffs. And as last I checked, they've also won some World Series in that range, too.
Last year.
Sometimes it takes longer for teams to click. And in the MLB, they play 162 games. That's a long season. You can throw away your first 62 games and win 80 of the next 100. Okay, and you still might be a wild card team. Usually the prediction is I'm quoting this off Moneyball. You need to be a 93-win team or so to make a wild card spot. And I think the Red Sox are going to overtake the Rays for that. And in the AL, the other team that's going to go, and I apologize to any Oakland fans out there, and I know
are there some?
I think there are some out there. I got some friends in Sault, Ontario that are Oakland fans.
Really?
And I think Cleveland's going to be the other team going in there. Oakland's got a good Cinderella team, in my opinion. Good power in that lineup. But it'd be hard to see Boston and Cleveland not in there. But going to the National League quickly, to say that the Phillies aren't going to make it, especially after bringing in Bryce Harper and they got in Vargas today, they're going to be buyers at the deadline. the AL side, Houston's going to buy, Yankees are going to buy, and I'll tell you the Red Sox are going to be buying a lot. But the Phillies are going to be buying. And I think the Mets are in the position of buying EJ because they have some contracts that are being terminated, and then some contracts that are running out, including with Noah Syndergaard. I'm anxious to see where he's going to go. And if he goes to the Padres, you got a team like the Padres that are 49-56 right now. But this is a team that had a lot of promise going into this year. And they want change. A lot of fans in San Diego want a playoff team there. And overall, baseball, anything can change. The Blue Jays made trades that they did with Tulowitzki and Price. They're 50-51 when they made the trades. They were the best team in the MLB after the trade deadline after that, and that's when the Bautista bat flip happened. Big fan of that. I don't think Scott is.
My favorite thing.
I love that. That is absolutely amazing. And as you said, EJ, things can happen in baseball, and anything can happen. And the Mets are not done. I'll tell you right now, the Mets are going to make a lot of moves. They're going to be the most active team, and they're still not done making some moves. Bringing a power bat into the lineup makes complete sense. I wonder if they're going to target the Tigers or if they're going to look at some veteran leadership on the Kansas City Royals to look at bringing in some guys who have been there. So overall, MLB is going to be a very active day on Wednesday. And if you're a Blue Jay fan, you should be excited about some of the moves that are going to be made. We just hope the Shapiro and Atkins make the right moves. Overall, the team that I think is going to be above all when it comes to the end of the year, I've always been a fan of the Atlanta Braves. Not because Josh Donaldson's there. I know Mount Crushmore, the Blue Jays didn't get anything from Mount Crushmore, but they're not going to be dead in the water in terms of making some moves as well. They've had interest in Stroman. They've always had their names in places. Very anxious to see what they do. But the Mets and Phillies, they know they have some teams and talents there that are underneath them, that are ahead of them, that they should be ahead of. They're going to be active come Wednesday.
You are listening to The Game on ESPN 1400, online at thegamesportshow.com. Our debut edition here on ESPN 1400, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. It is my turn for a topic. I'm going to explain the topic, then we're going to go to the break, and then we'll have EJ get his thoughts on this topic. And I'm just going to read it here on a kid named Booga, who just won $3 million over the weekend.
Yes, he did.
Playing Fortnite. Now, anybody that has kids or is a gamer knows what Fortnite is. I have two sons. They love Fortnite. Let me explain a little bit about Booga. His real name is Kyle Geisdorf, 16 years old, out of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. He beat out a field that started with some 40 million players to become the first Fortnite World Cup champion Sunday in Queens, New York. They played it at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Wow. And no other esports player has won more prize money in one day. Geisdorf, who plays for the Los Angeles-based esports team Sentinels, said he planned on putting his winnings in savings. Yeah, good luck with that. It seems his 8 to 10 hours a day of playing Fortnite have paid off, and that the days of his parents discouraging such behavior are over. Geisdorf was the first player to qualify for the 4-day 100-player World Cup final at Arthur Ashe Stadium, never relinquished his lead. He's still considered a surprise champion because many of the favorites, I don't know how they have a ranking system in this, but they do.
It's a thing.
It is. Within hours of claiming the cup, Geisdorf had picked up more than 100,000 new Twitter followers, and an old guy won second place. Psalm, he's known by. Harrison Chang won $1.2 million at the ripe old age of 24, who was the oldest player remaining on the final day of the tournament. The World Cup, sponsored by Fortnite manufacturer Epic Games, handed out $30 million in prize money. That's a record in esports, but it won't be for long. The prize pool for the International 9, a Dota 2 competition, I have no idea what that is, taking place in Shanghai next month, is nearing $31 million. So my question on the roundtable is playing video games profitable? Can someone make a career out of playing video games? My two sons are well on their way to trying to do that.
I'm so rattled because I did so much as a kid. Oh, my God.
We'll talk about that coming up here after our final break on Hour 2 of the Game on ESPN 1400.
Reed Metals in Dafter, family owned and operated for over 35 years, is your honest, main source, one-stop metal recycling business serving northern Michigan. Bring your unwanted scrap metal or scrap vehicles to Reed Metals, and they'll print you a check. Reed Metals is open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturdays from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Reed Metals will pay you for items like scrap vehicles, heavy equipment, catalytic converters, radiators, vehicle batteries, aluminum rims, frames, copper, brass, lead, tin, autocast, aluminum, steel, and many more types of recyclable metals, and they'll print you a check with your name on it. Reed Metals is the place that will give you great service and an honest price without surprise fees or deductions at the scale. Visit reedmetals.com or call 906-632-0018. Bring it in or have it hauled, and Reed Metals will print you a check with your name on it. Reed Metals, located just 11.5 miles south of the Soo on South Mackinac Trail.
Paul Thompson here with Gaylor Thompson Sales and Service, just off I-75 in Rudyard, inviting you to stop in and see the largest selection of equipment in the Eastern Upper Peninsula. To complement our full line of Mahindra tractors, we have trailers including goosenecks, dumps, cargos, car haulers, and utility trailers. We also have a full line of lawn and garden equipment with Cub Cadet and Exmark. Over 50 mowers to choose from, a full line of parts, and we service what we sell. Looking for an outdoor wood or pellet furnace or parts? We stock water pumps, exchangers, PEX supplies, and more. Also, check out our full line of Boss and Fisher snow and ice equipment. Here at Gaylor Thompson and Rudyard, we are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturdays, 9 to noon for your convenience. Just off I-75 in Rudyard, 30 minutes from the bridge. If you need it, we have it. Give us a call at 906-478-3026. Hope to see you here.
Hey, did you go out for breakfast?
Yep, got a sausage McMuffin with egg from McDonald's, melty cheese, and a buttery English muffin. You?
Cereal. Just dry cereal.
You know, that kind of looks like what we feed the parakeet.
Yeah, it's probably why he's giving me the stink eye.
Good thing I got a McMuffin for you, too.
There's a better way to breakfast.
Whether you're hitting the road or hitting the ground running, wake up with an Egg McMuffin made with a fresh cracked egg at your local participating McDonald's.
The local housing market is competitive, and unless you have the right team in your corner, you might miss out on your dream home. That's why happy customers choose Old Mission Bank for their home mortgage needs. We provide quality service from the time you submit your application to closing and then through the entire life of your loan. Let our friendly, knowledgeable staff be your financial partner. Call or stop by to check out our competitive rates and all the other fast, simple solutions we offer at Old Mission Bank. We're located in Pickford and Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. FDIC insured, equal housing lender.
Let's get to the second half of the game here on ESPN 1400, WKNW, Sault Ste. Marie's sports leader. It's the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. Now, here's Scott Nason.
Welcome back to the game on ESPN 1400. Scott Nason here from the studios on 3 Mile Road, joined by Dave McCaig and EJ Russell. We are in the roundtable portion of the game. We're on our third topic. Now, we discussed it a little bit before we went to break. Let me remind our listeners and panel on the topic. It was a big weekend at the U.S. Open. No, the tennis tournament won't be for a few weeks, but the Fortnight tournament, which is still one of the biggest, if not the biggest, online game, had 40 million players to start and one to finish. A 16-year-old named Buga, Kyle Geisdorf out of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, won $3 million, becoming the first Fortnight World Cup champion. Now, why do you ask? Are we talking video games on the game? Because this was a big sports story. It was on ESPN radio here locally. It was also on the television I saw. And the question I have to the panel, and EJ will go to you first, is, video games. I grew up playing video games. I think we all have grown up playing video games. Granted, they weren't online video games when I was playing. They were Atari 2600, the NES, the Sega Genesis. Yes, I'm dating myself. But, is playing video games as a kid a route to becoming a millionaire? Obviously, Mr. Buga would say yes. What say you, sir?
Well, I'll say this, and for anybody that wants to turn down their radio, I encourage you to actually turn it up, because esports is something that's happening, whether we like it or not. It's the direction that we're moving, and it's always fine when people spend 8 hours a day working on sports, because there was always the secondhand effect of, well, even if you're not that good, you're still getting the human effects of exercise and fitness and things like that. But the fact is that esports is something that's catching on, okay? And it's something that, as sports broadcasters, needs to be paid attention to. I mean, they've done Madden championships for years. Yes, they haven't been worth $3 million, but it's something that needs to be given attention to. Now, to specifically discuss Fortnite, a game that involves building and surviving an arena of 1 versus 99 other players and becoming the best that is in each individual game, and Fortnite has a system in which they rank it. So many kills, you get this number of points. So many other kills, you get this number of points. You get so many points for this place. It is a very structured tournament. And for me, what really kind of intrigues me about competitive Fortnite, and I've watched it, is this scoring system and this format that you are rewarded for how far you make it. And competitive Fortnite, if you've ever played the game, I encourage you to watch it. The first chance I ever got to watch was last year's summer skirmish, and then I watched the fall skirmish, which are these 2 tournaments that consisted of some of these best players. And I think that one of the best moments that I ever saw was in last year's summer skirmish when a player named Aiden and Nick Merckx continually landed at a place called the Tilted Towers. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, it's a specific area there.
He's name dropping. I love it.
Even if you weren't involved or understood what was happening, what happened between Aiden and Nick Merckx was something that was quite incredible, and it made for great gameplay, and it really did add a little level of dramaticism to what was going on. I mean, there are some names that if you were to ask your kids, Scott, Tfue, Ninja, Miss Fresh Asian, there are plenty of people, Muselk, there are plenty of guys that are making a living funneling their play into YouTube and providing entertainment in a way that we've never seen before, okay? And you guys know I like it. If bass fishing can get a following on TV, why can't Fortnite, which is the most popular game out there right now? If you're not somebody that's into professional gaming, that's fine. You don't have to enjoy it. But if you've played these games like I have, or Dave's played a couple times, Scott, I know you're familiar with it. This is the largest game on the planet right now. And you got these other guys, again, Myth, Tfue, Ninja, Nick Merckx, Aiden, a lot of really talented players, and they all have different aspects to how they play the game. We just quarterbacks by saying, oh, they're a pocket passer, or he's an edge rusher, he's a power rusher. People have a style to their gameplay, and I encourage you, if you're not into it, maybe take a peek, watch a couple of the games. Many people will say, and I don't mean this to be demeaning, and say that competitive video games is nerdy. But these guys are talented in a very different way, and the ability to process this information so quickly is incredible. And I know I'm going a little bit over on my time here, but it's something that we need to start watching because we're moving in that direction. But these guys need to be given a little bit of respect because it is a job for them. They're investing these times. They're gaining the sponsorships, and they're getting paid. And whether or not you like that esports is becoming a thing, it's happening. Get on board. Start watching, start learning, because if you're a sports fan, this is another level of competition that we're moving to.
I think EJ makes some very valid points there, Dave. What's your thoughts on the Fortnite World Cup, esports, video games? You go.
Booyah, he did. Let me tell you that. How's that? There you go. Video games is something I've been doing as a child. My parents will tell you while they roll their eyes, saying they used to try to pull me off video games. Sega, Scott, I played Sega. Sonic, NHL 95.
NHL 93.
Then I had NHL 98 on computer. We had Super Nintendo. I had N64, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4. Sorry, Mom and Dad, for buying all those, except the PS4 and 3. I bought those. I remember buying my first PS3, Scott. And I'll tell you, I loved playing video games, okay, especially on the road when playing sports and everything. That was your time away. Or if you weren't doing sports or school, my time to myself was playing a video game, trying to be lost in my own world. And today I still do play video games the odd time before bed or in the morning when I wake up, because it's just like a little escape, get yourself awoken, or even puts me to sleep sometimes. I wish these were around when I was younger, these competitions. I was obsessed with sports games, especially with NHL. My friends will tell you, some of them will lie to you and tell you that I didn't beat them, but I used to beat them up and down the room all the time in video games. If it was NHL, Grand Theft Auto, I was Mr. Grand Theft Auto. And there wasn't an online to Grand Theft Auto until the new Grand Theft Auto that came out. Fortnite, I downloaded it, played it 4 times, placed second twice. In my second and third match, gave up because I thought it was too easy.
Wow.
And that is incorrect. I'm not that good at Fortnite, and now I'm absolutely brutal. I played it about a month ago at my friend's house, and I lost in the first 5 minutes. Okay, so I'll tell you, the games are going this way. the sports. Hey, if you can't be a professional athlete, why can't I be a professional gamer? You bring up a good point there, EJ, with bass fishing. Every kind of sport, that is a sport. A video game is a talent. It is actually hard to do. People say, oh, you're just clicking a couple buttons, doing things. No. There's a lot of multitasking going on there, a lot of usage of the brain. It's great for eye workout. I have a lazy left eye without contacts. The doctor actually recommended that I play video games or I strengthen my eye. There's a lot of good things that video games are doing, and people got to buy into this. And parents that are trying to pull their kids away from video games, I say yes. It's a hot sunny day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, get your kids' butt outside, okay, for the afternoon. I'm still a fan of that. But you know what? This is the way the world is going, and I'm a fan of it. And I wish it was around more when I was younger. I don't want to get on board now because I have a career and more aspirations, especially with the show here. So my passions are not there. But anyone who has that passion, don't hesitate to do that, because playing video games is a time away from reality, and the way the world's going today with all the mental health and everything of sorts, that is an escape from it. Sorry that I want another darker side of it or more personal side, but it's something that is enjoyed. And to Booga winning $3 million, I just saw EJ share a post earlier. You got more money than Tiger did at the Masters, okay, and some more bigger athletes, okay, that get sports. You know what? It's amazing to see. And the reason why they can offer this money is because of the buyers and followers that they have. And I love when people say, and this will be my last point, Scotty, is that they say if they make all this money, and people always brought up Kawhi Leonard saying the guy is making $142 million in 4 years. Why can't they donate to some of the poor countries? Or why can't they do this? Look, you're not in their predicament. I would tell you that if I got that amount of money, I would donate. But the reason why they're able to give this much money is because we are giving them that money as the taxpayers. We are giving them as fans. So if we weren't supporting them, then they wouldn't be able to pay them that much. But if we weren't supporting them, there wouldn't be the sport at all. And to see this expansion of sports, video games, it's another area of sports that's untouched. I'm very excited to see it.
I agree.
And Scott,
go ahead.
Scott, may I jump in just for 2 seconds? That one thing I want to address, because I'm assuming you've never played the game, correct?
I've watched my kids play the game, yes.
There are video games, including Fortnite, that can also be, and this is something that I think needs to be pointed out real quick before we continue on with this, is that it can be a social it can be a social event too, okay?
Yeah.
Being not from where I live, I have played Fortnite and other video games, whether it be Madden or whatever, with my friends that I know from other places. And so it's not just that you're sitting there and people view it as something that's very solitary. You're sitting in front of a TV doing your own thing. You're not talking to anybody. These players all have headsets. These players sit down. They talk to each other. There is some social interaction involved. So don't think that it's just somebody sitting in their cave, not talking to anybody else. They make friends with each other. They have alliances. They have people that they enjoy talking to. So there is a social aspect to the game as well.
That was 67 seconds for the record, EJ, not 2, but good points nevertheless. I got to give you a hard time. But no, I got to agree with a lot of what you said there. I have 2 kids. My oldest son plays a lot of sports. My youngest son, not so much, but they both love video games. And I think you said it, EJ, that, esports are here. They're something that aren't going away. And it allows, individuals maybe who don't, like Dave said, have that athletic talent, like myself, to do things.
I've seen you ump before.
Well, ump is one thing, but playing hockey is another. I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I think like anything else, it's moderation. If you're gonna have someone spend 10, 12 hours a day on video games, on Fortnite, is that the healthiest? Probably not. Anything with moderation, but it's up to the parents. It's not up to me. It's not up to Fortnite. It's not up to anybody else. It's the parents that need to be parents and monitor what their kids do. I go back to, some of the competitions. There were some early competitions back in the old school video game era. Really? I remember having some Atari competitions there at school carnivals. Cool. I remember a Miss Pac-Man machine that was here locally at a restaurant. Now there's 2 Miss Pac-Mans there. There's the normal speed Miss Pac-Man, and there's the warp speed Miss Pac-Man. Let me tell you, this guy right here would have been one of those winning the
high
title.
Score there? That guy,
fantastic.
That weird nickname.
I made sure they didn't unplug it for 10 years because of that, actually, much like a Seinfeld episode with Frogger. So I think it was a neat story. It was, you look at the people that watched it and, the youth. I mean, the kids, they love Fortnite. They love these competitions. EJ mentioned, seeing the Madden ones televised. I'll watch it if it's on, the Madden Championships. I mean, I'm terrible at Madden. I've never been good at that game. Tecmo Bowl, that's a whole nother story, which we'll get into another time. We have time for maybe one more bonus topic. If Dave or EJ want to throw anything out, we have about 5 minutes. EJ, I'll go to you first. Is there any topic that we can briefly discuss here on the roundtable?
The topic that I'll bring up really quick is tampering in the NBA. Is this something that we need to address, or is this something that the players are just starting to realize that they have more power?
Dave, I'll go to you first. We got to keep this brief a couple minutes. I'm going to pass and go to you two guys on this. So, Dave, you go first.
EJ, that is a fantastic topic, my man. I think it's one of the best topics you brought to the table here, to be honest, since you've been on. I'm just playing with you. But I talked about this last week, and I'll keep this as brief as possible, with myself and Jamie Antonello when we did our Wednesday show. And we talked about the tampering. Jamie brought up a joke stating that, tampering, when's that ever going to finish in the NBA? Look at Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, I'll come to the Clippers if Paul George is there. Oh, his uncle's a part of the organization. Maybe he's going to cut the pie. Anthony Davis, hey, everyone knew that Anthony Davis was going to the Lakers either the deadline or in the offseason this year. Or you have the big three that were in Miami. When it was Bosh, Wade, and LeBron. Tampering in the NBA is a big issue, okay? And here's the thing, though. Players tampering with other players is not tampering, in my opinion. If LeBron wants to text somebody and say, come play with me, no, that is not tampering, in my opinion. However, management, coaches, and anything being involved, much like Kawhi Leonard's uncle apparently being involved with the Clippers, which we will not get into because it's a whole nother topic, that is ruining the NBA. That is what's causing all this hatred, and that's a word that we do not use much in the show, but we did. And the reason why is because that's a lot of the words I've been seeing on comments through a lot of social media portals. Is that's why people are pulling away. Oh, Golden State in the finals again. Oh, the Cavaliers in the finals again at the time. Or you have all these all-the-time winners. Golden State was not a tampering team. They drafted half that team, or if not 3/4. They just signed Kevin Durant. And on the show, I talk down to Kevin Durant pretty excessively, but tampering in the NBA is what's going to be the downfall of the NBA or lead to another lockout, because the money is absolutely insane being spent on the players. They are going home, quote unquote. Thanks John Tavares for that, because now Kawhi Leonard wanted to go home and all these players are going to start going home. Things in the NBA is not the same as hockey, baseball, or football. The NBA is following down a path that is a dark path, and it's not a positive path, and they're going to lose viewers. They're going to lose follower,ship, and it's not going to be something that is respected. It's not as great as winning a championship now as it is in the NHL or baseball or anything, because you have to sign 10 guys of all your friends to do it. I think tampering in the NBA is a big issue. If it's not addressed, it's going to be the big downfall and lead to the next lockout in the NBA.
Quickly, EJ, before you discuss it, I'll just briefly say I'm a free market guy. I believe that if the market is there and these players can make the money, so be it. I believe that if players want to play together and they have any advantages to do so, as long as they're not breaking any rules that are written down, I got no problem with it. EJ Russell, your thoughts?
Real quickly, I think that tampering is something that we need to address. And I think that Steve Kerr's comments, whether it was last week or the week before, it's pretty recently, he came out and said that players need to be held to these contracts. If you're going to make that kind of a statement, then the teams need to be held to these contracts as well. Trades need to be eliminated. If you're going to ask a player to fulfill their deal, you need to ask the team to fulfill their end of theirs. And I think that that's something that needs to be discussed. And because that's something that we're discussing right now, even on the air, I think an NBA lockout is something that's absolutely almost for sure thing. I think it's going to happen. There's no way that if you're going to, as management, ask these players to hold up their end of the contracts, why as teams are you not holding up your end of yours? I think that there's some serious discussions that need to happen in the NBA. I think that tampering is an issue. I think that all teams need to follow the guidelines that are written out there. But if you're going to be like Steve Kerr and make the point that players need to be held to the contracts, then I think it would be fair to assume that the teams and the owners need to be held to theirs.
Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, gentlemen. Dave, we'll start with you, then myself, and then EJ. Dave McCaig, your thumbs up and thumbs down for this week, sir.
I'll give my thumbs up to the varsity Sabrecats program into the Soo Steelers. I know it was a tough loss for the Steelers, obviously, but you know what? Positive season to the Sioux programs there, obviously, and thumbs up despite either way, right? And also, I'll go thumbs down, Ralph Scotty. I got nothing. You know why I got nothing?
Nothing.
I got nothing.
You're all positive.
I'm going to be all positive. I had a couple of things in mind I was going to bring up, but today's the first debut show on ESPN, 1400, part of Sovereign Communications, the Game Sports Show, all the new supporters out there. We're going to keep it positive here from Dave McCaig's end.
Wow. You don't see that much.
Booyah.
Booyah. You hear that a lot. Very good, Dave. And I'm going to give my thumbs up here to our debut show on ESPN 1400. I was a little antsy today. How everything being this.
You're sweating.
Well, that's from the sun and the heat, which I'm not complaining about because we won't be sweating in December. I can tell you that much. But special thanks to Alyssa and Matt who are here today, and to Mark St. Angelo and Keith Neve, and got to give another shout out to John Bell. Somebody that's been in this studio many years. We're thinking about you, John. Hopefully, his health will improve and maybe we can have him on the show. But he was a big part. He was a supporter of myself for doing the Sioux Eagles broadcast and for our show. And so we appreciate all the support that we received here at Sovereign Communications. And I'm keeping it positive too. I got no thumbs down this week. EJ Russell, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Y'all are not much nicer than I am. I got a thumbs down this week. Thumbs down to Trevor Bauer. You're a professional athlete. Do not chuck the ball in the center field. You have what is the ultimate player's manager as your manager in Major League Baseball. Terry Francona was not happy about that. Yes, Trevor Bauer issued an apology. Yes, you could see as he was removed from the mound that he patted Terry's chest and apologized and said, "My bad." But you got to conduct yourself a little bit better than that. This is a guy, Trevor Bauer, that's a really unique character. He's an oddball, but you still have to control your emotions, okay? You're a professional. Handle your business. My thumbs up for the week has got to go to a player from the Baltimore Orioles. Now, this is one of the worst teams in baseball, but this is something that needs to be pointed out here. A couple of days ago, an outfield named Steve Wilkerson became the first position player ever to record a save, and he threw 14 pitches, none of which were over 60 miles an hour. Thumbs up to Steve Wilkerson. Wasn't much sauce on what he threw, but becoming the first player to ever do something in a game that's been around for, 100-something years, that's something to be impressive for. So thumbs up to Mr. Wilkerson, Stevie Wilkerson, outfielder from the Baltimore Orioles. Thumbs down, Trevor Bauer, Cleveland Indians.
Thumbs up to you, EJ and Dave, for joining us here on this debut edition on the game. We'll talk to you both next week, and thanks for joining us, guys.
Absolutely, Scotty. As always, happy to be here. Excited.
I'll only come if you guys ask nicely.
Well, we'll ask very nicely. That's going to do it
I'll
here.
be here.
Thank you, EJ. That's going to do it for this debut edition of the game. Don't forget, you can hear all shows on the website, thegamesportshow.com. That includes our Monday night edition at ESPN 1400, and in addition to Dave McCaig shows from Sioux, Ontario, and on TV. And you can also hear other sports content, all on thegamesportshow.com. I want to thank our guests tonight, including Matt Pocket, sports director here at Sovereign Communications, and Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. Also want to give a big thank you to Alyssa Bradley here in the studio, doing a great job as always. That's going to do it for this Monday night edition of the game. We'll talk to you next Monday night here on ESPN 1400.
Thanks for listening to the game here on ESPN 1400 WKNW, Sault Ste. Marie's sports leader. Check us out next Monday at 6 for the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. You can hear the podcast of the show and other broadcasts at thegamesportshow.com.